listen. I'm gonna tell you something right now, and I'm gonna make this very clear. I'm gonna make something very clear because you're talking belligerent bullshit. I'm gonna make something very clear, okay?
And I'm drunk. You haven't spoken to me about anything, and now you're gonna come at me?
Why? Because you don't know how to apologize because you were wrong. Okay? This is the same thing that happened last time. Listen, I have a more pressing matter that I have to attend to. Okay?
So you're secure because you take care of everybody else. Where's my security to go? When are you gonna step up for me? When is that gonna happen? Because I feel like everybody else gets the special attention and they Katie, you go figure it out. You go figure it out. You figure out the kids. You figure out life. You figure out your partner.
Katie, you're doing this again. This is the same shit. I've been here. I've never felt happier. We were so happy. We were so happy. Oh my God, Katie. All right, man. All right. Then fine. Then go. Whatever. Fine, go. If that's what you need to do to make yourself happy, then I'm not going to hold you back.
Why do you have to go through back everything? After everything we went through, why does it have to go back to square one? Do you know how bad I feel? It's like, again, I feel like I'm getting
Katie, listen.
It's always, no! I swear to God. It's just like, I should just go somewhere because it's like you're basically
do that.
Over.
Do that.
Take me over. You're gonna tell me I'm gonna make a phone call.
I'm not making that fucking phone call. Just
but you don't have
look, Katie, you're
I'm on edge and I'm gonna be on work on edge with you today. You don't think that the meeting that
I'm pretty sure somebody will come by to the food, make you feel better. Just Katie, listen. Listen. I just want you to fucking have a pussy between your legs and act like you have it. If you want to fucking do what you want to do it. I'm gonna take care of I'm gonna take care of this fucking problem. I'm gonna take care of this fucking problem. And then
what are you gonna take care of before you don't discuss anything with me? You're not even listening.
So the less you know, the better off.
No, you're making
Man, just stop talking on the phone, man. Bye.
That's why you can't.
Bye.
Who's the male voice on this phone call?
That's Sigfredo Garcia, also known as Tudo.
All right. Doesn't sound like everything is going too fine on that end, huh?
No, not at all.
All right.
What if I told you that the two men hired to execute a law professor had never met him, never spoken to him, and had absolutely no personal reason to want him dead? What if I told you that one of these men was a member of one of the most notorious street gangs in America, and that he would eventually break the gang's most sacred code to cooperate with prosecutors? What if I told you that between these killers and the family that allegedly wanted Dan Markel dead stood one woman, a single mother caught between two worlds, who would become the critical link in this entire conspiracy? And what if I told you that it would take investigators over 2 years just to identify these people, and nearly a decade to bring them all to justice? This is the story of Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia, the men who drove 750 kilometers from South Florida to Tallahassee to end Dan Markel's life. And this is the story of Katherine Magbanua, the woman prosecutors say connected a wealthy family to the underworld of contract violence. If you haven't watched episode 1 yet, I strongly recommend you go back and watch it now. You need to understand who Dan Markel was, why he was targeted, and how his murder was carried out in broad daylight in his own driveway. That foundation is critical to understanding what we're about to reveal in this episode. Go watch episode 1 first, then come back here. I'll wait. For those of you who did watch episode 1, here's what you need to remember. On July 18th, 2014, law professor Dan Markel was shot twice in the head while sitting in his car in his garage. This wasn't random. This was a targeted hit. And investigators believed it was connected to Dan's bitter custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, and her family's desire to bring Wendy and the children back to South Florida. Now, let's talk about the people who actually pulled the trigger. If you want to understand how a murder-for-hire plot actually works, how investigators track down professional killers, and how one man's decision to cooperate brought down an entire conspiracy, then you absolutely need to subscribe to Dark Trail Files right now. We're not just telling you the story, we're showing you the evidence. We have actual court testimony. We have phone calls. We have footage from inside the courtroom. This is true crime investigation at its deepest level. Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because what you're about to hear will change the way you think about this entire case. Let's dive in. In the weeks following Dan Markel's murder, Tallahassee Police Department detectives were under enormous pressure. A prominent law professor had been executed in a quiet neighborhood, and the community wanted answers. Fast. Investigators had already determined this was a targeted hit, not a random act. But who were the shooters? And more critically, who hired them? The breakthrough came from something most people never think about: surveillance cameras. Not the cameras at Dan's house. Not cameras in his neighborhood. But cameras scattered throughout Tallahassee. Traffic cameras. Business security cameras. Gas station cameras. Parking lot cameras. Detectives began the painstaking process of reviewing hundreds of hours of footage from a day of the murder. They were looking for anything unusual. Any vehicle that appeared multiple times in different locations. Any pattern that suggested someone was following Dan Markel. And then they found it. A silver Toyota Prius. This car appeared on multiple cameras throughout that Friday morning. It was seen near Dan's neighborhood. It was seen circling the area. It was captured on footage near the time of the shooting. And most importantly, it didn't belong there. This wasn't a neighbor's car. This wasn't a regular vehicle in that area. Detectives ran the license plate. The car was a rental. It had been rented from an Enterprise location in Miami, driven to Tallahassee, and returned the next day with hundreds of suspicious miles added to the odometer. Now, they had a vehicle, but they needed to know who was driving it. The rental records gave investigators their first real leads. Names on the contract, credit card information, phone numbers. But the people who rented the car weren't stupid. They hadn't used their real identities. They'd used false information, stolen credit cards, fake IDs. So investigators went deeper. They started pulling cell phone data. They used tower information to track which phones had traveled from South Florida to Tallahassee on July 18th, 2014. They were looking for phones that followed the same route as that silver Prius. And they found two. Phones belonging to Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia. Luis Rivera was 33 years old at the time of the murder. He had a long criminal history, including gang activity. He was connected to the Latin Kings, a street gang with roots in Chicago that had spread throughout the United States. Sigfredo Garcia was 34, also with gang connections. More importantly, Garcia had ties to South Florida, specifically the Miami area. He wasn't just some random criminal. He was part of a network, a community, a world where violence was sometimes just business. But here's what made this case even more complex. Neither Rivera nor Garcia had any apparent connection to Dan Markel. They didn't know him. They'd never met him. They had no personal grudge, no motive, no reason to want him dead, which meant someone had hired them. Someone had paid them. Someone had given them Dan's address, his schedule, his routine. Someone had turned Dan Markel into a target. Investigators knew who the shooters were, but proving they committed the murder was one challenge. Finding out who hired them was another challenge entirely. And that's when prosecutors made a decision that would change everything. They decided to offer one of the killers a deal. But which one would break first? And what would they reveal? To understand why Luis Rivera eventually cooperated with prosecutors, you need to understand the world he came from. Rivera was a member of the Latin Kings, a gang that operates on a strict code of loyalty. Members don't cooperate with police. They don't testify against each other. They don't break ranks. The penalty for cooperating with law enforcement can be severe, even fatal. But Rivera was also in federal custody on unrelated charges. He was already facing significant prison time for gang-related activities. He was looking at years behind bars, possibly decades. And when Tallahassee investigators approached him about the Dan Markel murder, Rivera had to make a choice. He could stay silent, maintain his loyalty to the code, and face a potential first-degree murder charge that could result in the death penalty. Or he could cooperate, tell prosecutors everything he knew, and accept a reduced sentence. In October 2016, more than 2 years after Dan Markel's murder, Luis Rivera made his choice. He agreed to cooperate. Rivera pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. In exchange, he received a 19-year prison sentence that would run concurrently with the federal sentence he was already serving. More importantly, he agreed to testify. He agreed to tell prosecutors exactly what happened on July 18, 2014, and he agreed to name everyone involved. This was the break prosecutors desperately needed, because Rivera didn't just know about the shooting. He knew who hired them. He knew how the money was paid. He knew the name of the person who served as the go-between. Katherine Magbanua. Katherine Magbanua, known to some as Katie, was 30 years old when Dan Markel was murdered. She was a single mother with 2 young children. On the surface, she seemed like an ordinary person trying to make ends meet in Miami. But Katherine had connections that would prove crucial to this case. First, she had been in a relationship with Sigfredo Garcia. In fact, Garcia was the father of her children. They had a complicated on-again, off-again relationship, but they remained connected through their kids. Second, and this is critically important, Katherine had also been romantically involved with Charlie Adelson. Charlie, if you remember from episode 1, was Wendy Adelson's brother. He was a successful periodontist in South Florida with money, status, and a very close relationship with his sister. Do you see the connection forming? Katherine dated Charlie Adelson. Katherine also had a relationship with Sigfredo Garcia. Charlie allegedly wanted Dan Markel dead. Garcia and Rivera carried out the hit. Katherine Magbanua was the bridge. She was the person who connected a wealthy family to the world of contract violence. She was, according to prosecutors, the middlewoman who facilitated everything. But proving that role would be incredibly difficult. When Luis Rivera agreed to cooperate with prosecutors, he knew what it meant. He would have to take the witness stand. He would have to testify against his former associate, Sigfredo Garcia. He would have to break the gang code publicly in front of a courtroom full of people. This is actual footage of Luis Rivera testifying in court. Watch his demeanor. Listen to his words. This is a man who made a choice that would haunt him for the rest of his life.
Everyone can be seated. Mr. Rivera, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Please speak loudly and clearly.
Yes, sir.
You may examine.
Sir, please introduce yourself and spell your name.
Luis Rivera, Luisrivera.
Mr. Rivera, where are you from?
I'm from Puerto Rico.
Okay, but were you living in Miami back in 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you live in Miami?
My whole life.
You were born in Puerto Rico, though?
Yeah.
Okay, but moved to Miami at what age?
2 years old.
Okay. Have you been convicted of a felony,
Yes, ma'am.
including the murder that we're here about today?
Yes, ma'am.
It's 5 felonies, sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're currently incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that for this case or this case and another case?
Both. Well,
Both. So it's a federal sentence and this
in
sentence.
state case.
What did you plead to in this case?
This case, guilty
Guilty to what?
to second-degree murder.
If you can speak up, Mr. Rivera, that'd be so.
Guilty to second-degree murder.
Thank you.
One moment, Mr. Rivera.
What was your sentence on the second degree murder?
19 years.
Okay, and that was concurrent with your federal sentence, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what did you have to do in exchange for getting a 19-year sentence?
Cooperate.
What does cooperation mean to you?
Well, telling.
Telling on who?
My co-defenders, Garcia, Katie.
All right, did anybody ever tell you what to say?
No, ma'am.
Has anybody ever told you anything other than to tell the truth?
No, excuse me? Say it again?
Has anybody told you to say anything other than the truth?
No.
Has anybody promised you anything other than the sentence that you got in exchange for cooperation?
No, ma'am.
Did anybody ever tell you, oh, you have to testify about a specific person to get a deal?
No, ma'am. Not at all.
Have you been offered anything on your federal sentence from doing this cooperation on this case?
No.
As part of your negotiation or your lawyer's negotiation of this case, did you give up what's called a proffer, a recorded proffer?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And even back then when you gave the proffer, did anybody tell you what you needed to say there?
No, ma'am.
Were you hired to participate in the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Who hired you to be involved in the murder?
Well, I got it from my friend, Sigfredo Garcia.
Is that Sigfredo Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know him?
Childhood friends.
So to cooperate and get this deal, you had to turn on one of your best friends.
Yes, ma'am.
Who enlisted Sigfredo Garcia to be a part of this murder?
Katie,
Who's Katie?
his wife.
Is that Katherine Magbanua?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know who enlisted her to be involved in this murder?
Not really.
Was it a murder for hire?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that somebody was paying Katie?
Yes, ma'am.
And Katie was the one that brought the money to you all, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the purpose of this murder as you understood it?
That they wanted the kids.
Who wanted the kids?
Wendy.
Okay. And did you understand that you were killing the father of the kids so that Wendy could have the kids?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you previously referred to a dentist being involved?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was the dentist?
Charlie.
And how was he related?
Katie's boyfriend. Side piece, whatever you want to call him.
All right, so Katie was the wife of Garcia, but also the girlfriend of the dentist?
Yeah.
Did you have any contact with the dentist ever?
No.
Did you have any contact with any member of the Adelson family?
No, ma'am.
Everything went through Katie, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What did the dentist, if you know, have to do with the lady in Tallahassee who needed her kids?
I don't know nothing about them. I don't know nothing about that family.
Who was in charge of getting the money after the job was done?
Katie.
How much were you to be paid for your part in this crime?
35.
$35,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know the total amount that the job paid?
No, not really.
Did you know how much Garcia got?
40, I believe.
$40,000?
Yeah.
And did you know how much Katie got?
No, I don't know. Can't remember. But I think it was like 40. I think it was total was be like 100, something like that.
Okay. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Was it a one-time payment or was it a payment that occurred over time? It's what you got.
No, it's a one-time payment.
What did you know about the man that you came to Tallahassee to kill?
I don't know nothing about him.
How did you know who to kill?
Sigfredo Garcia.
How did he know?
Katie.
Did he have some information about the man you were here to kill?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell him what that was.
I was a piece of paper with his picture on of his face and the address.
Picture of Dan Markel's face?
Yes, ma'am.
And the address of what? Where he lived?
Of his house, yes.
Did you and Rivera refer to each other, you and Garcia refer to each other as brothers?
Yes, ma'am.
Moving to evidence states 45, Your Honor.
Exactly.
No, Your Honor.
States 45 is admitted.
Is that you and Mr. Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
Please silence your phones.
Have you ever been to Tallahassee before you came for this case, related to this case?
Never in my life.
How many times did you come to Tallahassee related to this case?
This case twice.
All right, so were you with Sigfredo Garcia both times?
Yeah,
Was that one time in June and one time in July?
I believe so.
Okay, and July was the time, second time was when the murder happened, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it just the two of you on both of these trips?
Yes, ma'am.
Rivera's testimony was devastating. He laid out the entire plot in painstaking detail. According to Rivera, he and Garcia drove from South Florida to Tallahassee on July 17, 2014, the day before the murder. They were in that silver Toyota Prius that investigators had identified. They checked into a hotel. They scouted Dan Markel's neighborhood. They watched his house. They studied his routine. On the morning of July 18th, they waited. They followed Dan when he left his home to go to the gym. They tracked his movements. And when Dan returned home around 11 a.m., they were ready. Rivera testified that Garcia was the shooter. According to his account, Garcia fired the shots through the driver's side window while Dan sat in his car in the garage. 2 shots to the head. Quick, efficient, professional. Then they drove away. They got back on the highway, drove hundreds of miles back to South Florida, and returned the rental car the next day as if nothing had happened. But Rivera revealed something even more important. They'd been hired to do this. They were paid. And the person who arranged everything, who gave them the information about Dan Markel, who delivered the money, was Katherine Magbanua. Rivera's testimony was powerful. But Katherine Magbanua wasn't going down without a fight. Her defense team would argue that Rivera was lying to save himself, that he was blaming an innocent woman to reduce his own sentence. The question became, would a jury believe an admitted killer who broke the gang code to cooperate with police? In October 2019, Sigfredo Garcia went on trial for first-degree murder. This was nearly 5 years after Dan Markel's death. 5 years of investigation. 5 years of building a case. 5 years of Dan's family waiting for justice. The prosecution's case was built on several key pieces of evidence. They had the surveillance footage showing the silver Prius in Tallahassee. They had cell phone records showing Garcia's phone traveling from South Florida to Tallahassee and back. They had financial records showing suspicious payments around the time of the murder. But most importantly, they had Luis Rivera's testimony. Rivera took the stand again, this time to testify against his former associate. He described the planning, the drive to Tallahassee, the surveillance of Dan's house, and the shooting itself. He pointed to Garcia as the trigger man, the person who actually fired the fatal shots. Garcia's defense attorneys attacked Rivera's credibility. They pointed out that Rivera had every reason to lie. He had received a reduced sentence in exchange for his cooperation. He was a career criminal, a gang member, someone whose word couldn't be trusted. But the jury wasn't convinced by the defense. After deliberating, they found Sigfredo Garcia guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The conviction was one thing. The sentencing was another. The prosecution had pursued the death penalty against Garcia, arguing that this was a cold, calculated, premeditated murder for hire. But the jury would have to decide, should Sigfredo Garcia die for his role in Dan Markel's death, or should he spend the rest of his life behind bars? This is the moment when that decision was revealed.
The jury haven't found you guilty of murder in the first degree and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. I do adjudicate you guilty of each offense. On count 1, I sentence you to life in prison. Give you credit on that sentence of 1,238 days, which dates back to May 25th, 2016, which I understand to be the date of arrest. On count 2, I sentence you to 30 years Department of Corrections, to run consecutively to count 1. There's no jail credit as to count 2 since it is a consecutive sentence. As to count 3, based upon the jury verdict of not guilty, I adjudicate you not guilty of that offense. Order mandatory cost $420, $100 cost of prosecution. Reduce that amount to civil judgment. Mr. Garcia, you have 30 days to file a notice of appeal. If you can't afford a lawyer, one would be appointed to represent you. And I would assume, Mr. Sanguinetti, you will assist him in getting the appeal filed and the record perfected.
Yes, Judge. We did provide the clerk. I don't know if we provided it yet.
Yep.
We have provided with an updated financial affidavit.
Did you review the affidavit? We'll take that up because you need to perfect the record before you move to withdrawal, but we'll review that at that point in time.
Yes, Judge.
Does that leave anything outstanding from anyone?
No, sir.
Anything further?
No, Judge.
All right. Good luck to you, sir. We'll be in recess.
John, may I vote?
Sure.
The jury deliberated for just 40 minutes before recommending life in prison without the possibility of parole. Judge Robert Wheeler formally sentenced Garcia to life for the murder charge, plus an additional 30 years for conspiracy. Sigfredo Garcia, the man who allegedly pulled the trigger and ended Dan Markel's life, would never walk free again. He would spend the rest of his life in a Florida state prison, decades away from his children, his family, and any semblance of the life he once had. But prosecutors weren't done, because Garcia's conviction raised an even bigger question. If Katherine Magbanua was the middlewoman, as Rivera testified, then who hired her? Katherine Magbanua was tried alongside Sigfredo Garcia in 2019. They sat in the same courtroom, accused of the same conspiracy, facing the same evidence. But while Garcia was convicted, Katherine's case ended differently. The jury couldn't reach a unanimous verdict on Katherine. They were deadlocked, with sources later revealing the vote was 10-2 in favor of conviction. The judge declared a mistrial. Katherine walked out of that courtroom, not free, but not convicted either. Prosecutors immediately announced they would retry her. They weren't giving up. They believed Katherine was the crucial link in this conspiracy, and they were determined to prove it. In May 2022, Katherine Magbanua's second trial began. This time, she made a decision that shocked many observers. She testified in her own defense. Taking the stand is always risky for a defendant, but Katherine and her attorneys believed it was necessary. She needed to tell her side of the story directly to the jury. This is Katherine Magbanua testifying in court. Watch carefully. Listen to her words, because what she says and how the jury reacted would determine the rest of her life.
Ma'am, please say your name and spell your name.
Katherine Magbanua, Katherine Magbanua.
I see that you're in jail clothes. Are you currently in custody?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you in custody for?
For murder?
Are you doing a sentence for murder?
Yes, ma'am.
You were convicted of murder?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a trial in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you testify?
Yes, ma'am.
You testified on your own behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And when you testified, were you truthful with the jury?
No, ma'am. I was not.
Did you take the same oath that you just took today in your own trial?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your defense when you were tried?
That I had nothing to do with it.
All right. That we got it right in reference to Charlie Adelson and we got it right in reference to the killers,
Yes,
but you
ma'am.
weren't in the middle.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that true?
No, ma'am. It was not.
Were you in the middle?
Yes, ma'am. I was.
And didn't you also testify in the trial in which Sigfredo Garcia was convicted of murder?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And what was his defense?
That he had nothing to do with it.
That we got it right in reference to Charlie Adelson and we got it right in reference to the killers, but he had nothing to do with it,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled, Ms. Calhoun, make sure you use any questions.
And was that defense truthful?
No, ma'am, it was not.
So Sigfredo Garcia was involved.
Yes, ma'am, he was.
So why tell the truth now?
I believe that the truth needed to come out now so that the family can get some type of closure.
Why didn't the truth need to come out last year or the year before or the year before that?
I was trying to defend myself.
You were trying to get off.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you think you'd be successful in your trial with that defense?
I thought so.
Has anyone promised you anything for your testimony here today?
No, ma'am.
Weren't you originally offered immunity for cooperation in this case?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
But you didn't take us up on that.
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Because you thought you could get off completely.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And now you're doing a life sentence.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Did Charlie Adelson threaten to harm you if you told the truth?
No, ma'am, he didn't threaten me.
Did anybody threaten you to keep your silence?
No, ma'am.
Did anybody promise you anything if you remained silent all these years?
I wasn't promised anything, but I wasn't promised anything.
Go ahead, finish your thought. You weren't promised anything, but what?
I thought everything was going to be okay.
You thought you'd be acquitted.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so did you know Dan Markel?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you have any personal beef with him?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What was your motivation for becoming a part of this murder plot?
Financially.
So not as a favor to Charlie Adelson?
Objection, Your Honor.
What is the objection?
I'll rephrase it, Your Honor. Was it a favor to Charlie Adelson?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay, but your primary motivation was not favor to Charlie Adelson?
Well, yes, ma'am, it was. And financially.
All right, because you were going to get paid for your part?
Yes,
How much
ma'am.
did you get paid?
I don't know the exact amount.
What was your relationship to Charlie Adelson?
He was my ex-boyfriend.
When did you meet him?
I believe that was in 2013.
Do you know what month?
Has to be around September.
Can you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
He's sitting over there with a blue jacket and a blue tie.
Let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect.
Show you what I marked as states 48. Recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How do you recognize it?
That's when we went to Key West.
Is that a fair and accurate photo of you and Charlie Adelson?
Yes, ma'am, it
Is
is.
that when the two of you were taken when the two of you were dating?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, at this time I ask to move into evidence states 48.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
48 is admitted.
Do we have that for publication? So was this photo taken before or after the murder?
Before.
Who came up with the idea to kill Dan Markel?
Charlie.
So Sigfredo Garcia didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Luis Rivera didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
When did the defendant first bring this idea up to you?
My first recollection was around Halloween of 2013.
Around Halloween or on the actual?
On Halloween, yes, ma'am.
All right. What's your recollection of how that came up?
We were at a Halloween party in Lincoln Road, and right before we were about to go, he got in the car with me and he asked me a question.
What was the question?
Do you know anybody that can harm someone?
And did you know anybody that could harm someone?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Who was that?
Sigfredo.
And at the time, what was your relationship with Sigfredo?
Wasn't the best.
But he was the father of your children, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you dating both men at this time, or were you only dating Charlie?
No, I was only dating Charlie.
Okay. And so he meaning the defendant, initially said, do you know anyone that could harm someone? Was he aware of your connection to Sigfredo Garcia when he made that statement?
Not that I know of. No, ma'am.
Did you suggest Sigfredo Garcia at that time to the defendant?
No, ma'am.
What did you say?
I just said yes and kind of left it alone.
All right. Did it go any further than that at that time?
Not that night.
Right. Did you know who he wanted harmed? At that time?
No, ma'am.
All right. Had you become aware during the course of your relationship with him that he had some kind of issue going on with his sister's ex-husband?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What did you learn about that?
He was just stating that his mom and dad was stressed, and that his sister was having problems with her husband and custody of her 2 children.
And when did you learn that the person that the defendant wanted harmed was this ex-husband of the sister?
I believe later on.
All right. And when did you learn the name Dan Markel?
It wasn't until, I don't know if it was on my trial or when Sigfredo got arrested.
Okay, so even when he was killed, you didn't know the name of the person that was being killed?
Yes, I never knew his name.
How did the defendant refer to this person, if not by the name Dan or Danny Markel?
Wendy's husband.
Okay. So you knew that the person that was going to be initially harmed was Wendy's husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew that there were issues, or what did you know about the beef with him?
He painted this picture that this was a terrible man and making his family go through a lot custody-wise with his sister.
All right, and when he would say these things to you, is it in the context of his mom specifically or his family in general?
I believe it was more towards his mom.
Meaning what?
That his mom hasn't been sleeping, his mom is not eating. I know his dad wasn't the best health either, but he would refer to his mom a lot.
All right. And the reason she wasn't sleeping or eating, did that have to do with this ex-husband of Wendy?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever...
Katherine's testimony was her attempt to explain away all the evidence. She admitted she knew Charlie Adelson and Sigfredo Garcia, but she denied being involved in any murder plot. She claimed she had no knowledge of what Garcia and Rivera were planning. She portrayed herself as an innocent person caught between 2 worlds, someone who was being scapegoated by prosecutors desperate to connect the Adelson family to the crime. But prosecutors hammered away at the evidence. They showed the jury phone records demonstrating contact between Katherine and Charlie around the time of the murder. They presented financial records showing large cash payments from Charlie to Katherine. They highlighted the timing. Money flowing shortly before the murder, and then additional money flowing afterward. And they brought Luis Rivera back to the stand one more time. Rivera testified again that Katherine was the one who arranged everything, who provided the information about Dan Markel, who facilitated the payment. This time, the jury was convinced. In May 2022, nearly 8 years after Dan Markel's murder, Katherine Magbanua was found guilty on all counts. first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. The conviction was devastating for Katherine, but the sentencing would be even more severe. Katherine Magbanua had maintained her innocence throughout both trials. She never admitted to any involvement. She never cooperated with prosecutors. She never provided information about who might have hired her, and that decision would cost her everything.
Is that the second time you met Wendy Adelson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ever discuss the murder with Wendy Adelson?
No, ma'am. I
Did you ever discuss Dan Markel's schedule with her?
No, ma'am.
So the only person you talked about it with at all was Charlie and Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, for the July trip, once the murder was done, did you receive a phone call from Sigfredo Garcia?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And were the two men looking to get their money for the murder?
I don't know what my conversation was with Sigfredo, but I did speak to him on the phone.
But you understood that you needed to get the money, right, and pay them?
Yes, ma'am.
That was part of your job?
Yes, ma'am.
Part of your role in this whole thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you go to Charlie Adelson's house to get the money on the night of the shooting?
Yes, ma'am. He had contacted me and told me that there was an accident and if he can have dinner with me that night.
Okay. And the accident was a reference to the shooting of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which was not an accident, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When you get there, how is Charlie acting?
He was pretty frantic, just pacing back and forth, and he had a gun in his hand.
Okay. Was that unusual behavior for him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he say anything about his parents when you arrived at his house that night?
He told me that his parents just left.
Did you end up staying the night there?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Were you planning on spending the night there?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Okay. Originally, was your plan to get the money and take it to the two men that killed Mr. Markel?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
All right. What happened the next morning?
Well, since that night, since he was like pacing back and forth and he had given me a Xanax, that's why I fell asleep.
Okay.
And that's why
Did he take Xanax as well?
Yes, ma'am, he took one as well.
Okay. And the next morning, did something happen with the money?
Yes, ma'am. So I woke up. I was like, I gotta get out of here. And he told me that the money is in the trunk of my car.
All right. And was the money in the trunk of your car?
I actually did not check it. I just got my keys and left.
So you believed him that it was there?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you got to where you were going, where did you go to deliver the money?
I was trying to contact Sigfredo and had a hard time trying to contact him. And then I eventually ended up in the alleyway of where Luis lived at that time.
At Luis Rivera's residence?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Garcia show up there when you pulled up there?
Yeah, he just kind of jumped in my car. I didn't know where he came from.
All right. And was he able to get the money?
Yes, I told him that his money was in the trunk of the car.
And he was able to remove it, and you observed him removing it, and the money was there?
Yes, ma'am. He went to the bag, grabbed it, and then that's he left.
How did you get your cut of the money?
I don't know if it was later on that night that he came back to my apartment, or the following day, and then he put it in the closet.
How was your cut of the money packaged?
It wasn't like a cut. It was just basically in a bag, in a plastic bag, grocery bag, and I believe there was like a paper bag and then a Ziploc bag inside it.
All right, so the inner thing was a Ziploc bag?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you opened the Ziploc bag, did you notice that the money was stapled together?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
It was, okay. Did you notice something else unusual about the money?
At that moment, I didn't when I opened it, but a couple of days after the fact, it was wet and starting to mold.
The money itself was damp to the touch?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and did you ever mention that back to Charlie Adelson?
I'm pretty sure I contacted him and told him why is the money wet.
What do you mean pretty sure? You did or you didn't?
That I did.
Okay, and when you contacted him and said the money's wet, or you just mentioned to him the money's wet, did he have a response?
Yes, ma'am. He told me.
Go ahead.
Told me that that his mom washed the money.
That she physically washed the money?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you got a chunk of cash that day or a couple days later. You're not sure which.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you also got these paychecks that we've talked about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did over the ensuing time, from the time of the murder up until the time of the what we've referred to as the bump, are you familiar with that law enforcement operation? Okay. In that time frame, did you get some other gifts and things from Charlie?
Between that time?
Yes. Plane tickets, things like that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you deny getting any type of gift or favor from Charlie Adelson other than the cash that you got?
I don't know if like specifically any type of favors. If I was going through, I was having problems with the car that I had purchased from him. So he would get that fixed and he would pay for it.
Okay, and before that he helped with Mazda repairs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. You started getting paychecks in September after the murder, which continued through May of 2016. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how would you receive the paychecks?
Charlie would give it to me.
All right. And you admit that you weren't doing anything to earn that money?
No, ma'am.
Other than contributing to this murder?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And the paychecks, would they come one at a time or multiples at a time?
It would be multiple.
Okay. Do you know why the paychecks stopped when they stopped?
At that time, Sigfredo got arrested.
So they got spooked?
Yes.
Who signed the paychecks?
I'm sorry, one moment.
In July 2022, Judge Robert Wheeler sentenced Katherine Magbanua to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder conviction. But he didn't stop there. He added 2 additional consecutive 30-year sentences for the conspiracy and solicitation charges. Katherine Magbanua would spend the rest of her life behind bars. Her children would grow up without their mother. She would never see them graduate, never attend their weddings, never meet her grandchildren. But even with her conviction, one massive question remained unanswered. Who hired Katherine? If she was the middlewoman, as prosecutors claimed, then who was on the other end? Who in the Adelson family had actually orchestrated this plot? Prosecutors had the trigger man. They had the driver. They had the middlewoman. But the person who allegedly ordered the hit, who provided the money, who wanted Dan Markel dead in the first place, was still free. And that's where Charlie Adelson comes in. But before investigators could arrest him, they needed more evidence. They needed recordings. They needed wiretaps. They needed to catch him in his own words. Before we move forward, I want to talk about Luis Rivera one more time, because his decision to cooperate came with a price that goes beyond just prison time. Rivera broke the gang code. He testified against a fellow Latin King member. In the world he came from, that's unforgivable. There are members of that gang, both inside prison and outside, who view Rivera as a traitor. His life in prison would be difficult, potentially dangerous. He would have to be careful about where he was housed, who he associated with, how he moved through the prison system. But Rivera testified multiple times. He testified in Sigfredo Garcia's trial. He testified in Katherine Magbanua's first trial. He testified in her second trial. And prosecutors made it clear they would call him again if needed. If Charlie Adelson went to trial, Rivera would be there. If Donna Adelson went to trial, Rivera would be there. Every time Rivera took that stand, he reinforced his status as a cooperator, someone who broke the code, someone who couldn't be trusted in the criminal world. In June 2025, after serving his 19-year sentence, Luis Rivera was released from federal prison. He walked out into a very different world than the one he left. Dan Markel's case was still making headlines. More Adelsons had been arrested. More trials were coming. And Rivera's testimony had been a crucial building block in the prosecution's case against an entire family. But Rivera would have to live with what he did for the rest of his life. He would have to live with the knowledge that he participated in taking an innocent man's life. He would have to live knowing that he broke the code, that his former associates viewed him as a snitch. And he would have to live wondering if cooperating had really been worth it. After her conviction and sentencing, Katherine Magbanua's attorneys filed an appeal. They argued that the evidence wasn't sufficient to support a conviction. They claimed the trial was unfair. They pointed to issues with the way prosecutors presented certain evidence. But in July 2025, an appeals court denied Katherine's appeal. The conviction stood. The sentence stood. Katherine Magbanua would remain in prison for the rest of her life. For Dan Markel's family and friends, this was another step toward justice. But it still wasn't complete justice. Because while the people who carried out the murder were in prison, the question of who ordered it remained partially answered. Prosecutors believed they knew. They believed Charlie Adelson had hired Katherine to arrange the hit. They believed Charlie's mother, Donna Adelson, had been involved in planning it. They believed the Adelson family had conspired to eliminate Dan Markel because he stood in the way of what they wanted. Wendy and the children back in South Florida, close to the family. But believing something and proving it in court are two very different things. By the time Katherine Magbanua was convicted in 2022, investigators had been working on the Adelson connection for years. They had been conducting surveillance. They had been gathering evidence. They had been recording conversations. And what they captured would finally give them the ammunition they needed to arrest Charlie Adelson. In the next episode, we're going deep into the investigation of the Adelson family. We'll hear the actual wiretaps that captured Charlie discussing the murder. We'll learn about the undercover operation that almost caught him trying to flee the country. We'll see how investigators build a case that would take nearly a decade to bring to trial. And we'll witness Charlie Adelson's conviction, the moment when the family's alleged role in this conspiracy was finally proven in court. This is Dark Trail Files. If you want to see how investigators connected a wealthy South Florida family to a contract killing, if you want to hear the evidence that finally brought down Charlie Adelson, and if you want to understand how a mother's love for her daughter allegedly twisted into something dark enough to destroy lives, then make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. The next episode is going to expose the Adelson connection in ways you've never heard before. Stay tuned.